So back at it, Stanley Zamora, Florida Supreme Court certified mediator. Something interesting happened again. Well, I love mediation. It's never the same thing twice. But most importantly, what happened today is something I haven't seen in a while. So after opening statements or my orientation session where I describe the process of mediation, my role, the parties' roles, and the roles of their attorneys, and what will transpire for the day, we opened up the conversation to have the plaintiff attorney give us a brief introduction. And her introduction actually was strictly to the facts of the case, but then she seemed to wander into what was going on in the life of the plaintiff during the time. And yes, it was a loss, a reported loss due to a particular hurricane. And she actually, what ended up happening is she stated that how she may have reported at a certain time frame that where the insurance company may find it was late reporting, but she went ahead and started to describe that what was happening during that hurricane was that her husband was ailing greatly, and he was sick, and actually he ended up passing, and he ended up passing in a way that was very unexpected due to the illness, just all of a sudden. And then the insured, the wife, fell into a massive depression. She already suffered from a level of anxiety. She already suffered from a level of a light social disorder, but nonetheless, she fell into a depression, so much so that she refused to eat, and she started hoarding. And it was her family that came from other states that came in and saw how the condition in which she was living. Again, English is not her first language. She actually had a translator during the mediation, and said her condition of living was so dire, they thought she was going to pass because of the level, waist deep of waste and things around her. And the condition of the roof was like these holes you can see in the home, and rodents and other things. And she was just in such a depression. She was actually unable to even understand how bad she was living. So it was with the generosity of her family that they had an intervention and literally swoop in and fix the roof and clear things out and hired as many handy people as they can handle to assist her. And then the attorney actually started getting very, very emotional, excused herself, turned her camera off, came back, completed the opening statement, and then we had opening comments from the defense side, who basically said they did not know that the husband had passed. In fact, they just noticed now. They just heard it for the first time. And a lot of other things that was being mentioned, they just heard for the first time today, just now. So they said they would like to go to caucus and to consider things. In fact, in the opening comments of the plaintiff, she basically said, we want X amount of dollars. And it was literally $70,000 to $80,000 less than from what I've learned, the initial asking demand. And she just made statements of, we just want her whole and to be done. Our attorney's fees we've cut in half just to get her taken care of. So we went into caucus session. And since we had a demand already, I said I would meet with the defense side first to see what their offer would be based on the information provided. And they didn't have an offer. They actually said, Stanley, we need more information because we had no idea there was a deceased husband here. We had no idea the condition in which she was living. We had no idea we had no idea the roof was actually fixed and other things was fixed in the home. We have no receipts for anything. So before we make an offer on what we perceive to be a denial claim, or even something very nominal as a nuisance value, we want to know more. So if you don't mind, can you ask her these 3 or 4 questions, which I went and I did. I went to met with the other side, and here's where we're going. Where we're going with this is, and when I went to meet with the plaintiff now, the plaintiff attorney said she wanted to apologize, and then began crying, and I got very emotional. I'm like, I'm sorry, am I missing something? Everything we say is confidential in private caucus session. And she goes, please forgive me. But I took this case on because it means a lot to me. I actually was in the situation like her husband, but mine was COVID. I worked extremely hard for over 15 years to build up my practice. And I'm a solo practitioner doing very, very well. But during that point of COVID, I was hospitalized for 6 to 8 months. I almost lost everything. I fell into a depression myself, so dire, so bad, that I couldn't even answer the phone. I couldn't even get the mail because everything I saw was crashing on me. What I built for decades, almost a decade, over a decade, was crashing on me because I was so sick for so long. And when I called my creditors, when I called the bank, nobody seemed to care that not that I didn't want to take care of my responsibility financially, I just couldn't, because I was also in a means, and this person stated to me, she herself have done hundreds of arguments for clients. She's assisted clients hundreds of times in this situation, but now that she's in it herself, she was paralyzed. And if it wasn't for the assistance and generosity of her family coming in and helping her, that's the only reason why she's not homeless. That is it. From student loan debts to the credit card debts to the debts of the firm. She lost her firm and now she's working somewhere else. But if it wasn't for the generosity of her family, she would really be homeless right now. So she's passionate about this case. And she understands how when people reach out to their insurance companies, to their creditors, to whomever, and they get blank responses that they don't seem to understand that a person's going through something, not that they're trying to be deceptive, not that they're trying to cheat the system, they can't. And this individual here doesn't speak the language. She's been here for several years, and even now, she needs a translator, which the translator was going back and forth with us. So this did take some time, but she was paralyzed. So now, yes, her husband is deceased. She knows now what she has to provide to allow for more meaningful conversations. But mental health played a very, very large part of her even responding when the loss happened, and when she had to respond to the loss, to how she would function. So now she would want to know, how can we, with a better understanding of what the plaintiffs have gone through, the plaintiff, how can we get to a resolution for today? So they gave me some information to give to the other side, and when I did so, I shared the information, dates, times, receipts, things. And the other side, who again came with a denial, came with a very nominal walk-away figure or a nuisance value figure, said they want to put more money on this case, knowing more of the situation, although they already read the briefs, although they already received the answer. But now at mediation, they learned more as to what was happening during that time. So what I suggested is, can we no longer have caucus sessions, but have a joint session and go through some dialogue on what's necessary, what's needed, how can we respond to a resolution that makes sense and meaningful negotiation can happen from this point forward. So we did so. And you know what happened? They wanted to impasse or adjourn. Actually, the agreement was to impasse. But as I said, it wasn't to impasse is a negative. It was what I call a constructive impasse. A constructive impasse where, although they couldn't find an agreement today, and they didn't want to adjourn for whatever reason, they didn't want to adjourn because they just didn't know when they would come back, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of questions answered. Some new, if family members did assist her and paid cash, are they willing to sign affidavits and other things? But the defense side did say, we will work with her to get this done. We may not meet her at her exact number, but we're going to figure this out, because these are circumstances we did not know. We did learn something in the mediation that changes how they view the case and also changes how they want to proceed. So they want to negotiate further. They want to get some more information, and then they'll have, hopefully, a written settlement agreement. So that's just an example of how, one, you can have a constructive impasse, and two, we can share information about the case, not just what the law allows, provides, and how we feel strongly about the case and the merits of someone's case, but also what is the underlying thing, what is the underlying need, wants, and what is the means that got us to where we are today. That's also important that most fail to even introduce or want to hear. So with that, thank you. Please share your comments, subscribe, let me know your ideas. I'd like to have dialogue and have some more conversation as to how we can make mediation better. All right, bye, until next time.